Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that wherever or whenever you are listening to this episode, that you are taking time to be nice to yourself. Do something that you love for yourself. This could be taking yourself to a spa day, going out with the guys or your girlfriends, or, visiting your family, maybe someone you like in your family, not maybe all of your family, if you have any issues there. Or, if you're near Disneyland or something. Or it could be as simple as going down to the corner store and buying Bazooka Joe Bubblegum. I remember when I was a kid, it was my favorite bubblegum. It was so pink and it smelled so good. And it was always so hard at first, and it almost hurts your gums when you first bite into it. But after a few seconds, it gets real pliable. And then you can make really good bubbles with it while you're reading the teeny tiny cartoons for 10 cents. That was like the best bargain ever. Do you guys remember Bazooka Joe Bubblegum? And you could buy it literally by the piece, and each piece has a little tiny cartoon. Well, I used to buy this, especially in university, and I used to keep it in my jacket, and my jacket just so happened to be kind of a military coat that I had a fiance who was in the military for a short period of time. We never did marry. We broke up before we got to the altar. But when the Northridge earthquake hit, everybody around me was panicking, freaking out. It was bad. I put on my military everything, even though I was never in the military. Army Navy surplus store was my friend. I put on my combat boots and my BDU pants and the jacket that said Lion on it. That was my fiance's last name. And I started walking around. I figured, well, if anything's going to happen, at least I'm wearing, combat fatigues, and I could probably spend the next 12 hours helping people. That was my goal. And I was walking around, and just some people needed a hug. Some people needed assurance. I met a man who sat absolutely in shocked silence as the building where he had been living was collapsed and they were pulling the bodies out. And I said hi to him, and he didn't speak English. He kind of shook his head. He was Japanese. He shook his head, and he just had tears in his eyes. He's like, he couldn't even communicate. And he just sat there in silence, just like, I don't know what to do, And we were all like that. We were serious PTSD, serious anxiety. And I just prayed, what can I do for this man? I don't know what to do. And I put my hands in my pockets while I started to think. And sure enough, I had Bazooka Joe Bubblegum in my pocket, and I handed him a piece of it, and I kind of winked at him, and he was like, wow, just like shocked, and he just kind of looked at it, and he looked at me like, what? And I just kind of shrugged, and I smiled, And he smiled, and I brought like a little bit of relief, or not relief, but I don't know. It was like a weird kind of human connection with Bazooka Joe Bubblegum. And he was just like, like he said, thank you. I think he said konnichiwa. I'm like, I don't know what to say. How you say you're welcome in Japanese, I don't know. And when he first saw it and he looked at me and he's like, hi. I'm like, yeah, hi. Like it's like, yes. And it was just one of those one teeny tiny, like 10 cents. And it just brought so much joy to this random stranger's face. And I don't know, for wherever you are, whatever you're doing, a lot of you are in your cars on the way to work. I have heard from a few of you that this is your morning commute. I'm so thrilled that I could be with you during your morning commute, and I'm happy about that. I'm glad I didn't go back and shorten my show to 30 minutes only. A lot of you have an hour to 2 hour commute, so I'm glad I could be here for that. So I don't know. It's just, if you're at work and you have all day long, you're working, and during lunch, maybe order yourself a dessert or splurge a little, spend an extra $3 or $4 on a meal that is going to be maybe more nutritious or make you a little happier than, if you typically get a sandwich, especially if it's out of a machine. Oh my God. Or a 7-Eleven. Ugh, it's like the worst. You don't know how old those are. Do you think they pay the people working in 7-Eleven to care enough to check the dates? I used to work in, I used to be a merchandiser, and I worked in health food, or not health food stores, but the health food aisle. I actually worked in 10 or 20 different grocery stores. Okay. And I worked in Targets. I did sunglasses. I took the smudges off the sunglasses. That was one of my jobs. Another job was greeting cards. I had 5 stores, and I took care of the greeting cards for a greeting card company. And then I was a Smucker's girl for a while. Lunchables, those are so disgusting. But I had to check the frozen aisle and make sure all the Lunchables were in date. And then I did a bunch of stuff, man. I mean, I was working at one point 60 to 80 hours a week, just doing merchandising, but driving. And I feel your pain if you're driving a lot to work. I got paid to drive, so that was super awesome. And I learned every lyric there was to learn on the Baby Bash album I had at the time. If you don't know who Baby Bash is, he is the #1 Mexican-American rap star. And half of his stuff is in Spanish, so pretty cool. He's gorgeous, too. If you ever Google him, he's got super beautiful dark green emerald eyes. He is... Ooh, he's a looker. He's cute. I wrote to him once. I wrote to him on MySpace. My God, you guys remember MySpace? That was so long ago. But at the end of his album, there was an interview, and he's saying, well, I always answer all my fan mail myself. And I thought, oh, that's so admirable. I mean, if I'm ever going to be in a position, then I'll do that too. And you guys know, whoever has written to me, I've always answered you directly. I don't have any money to hire anybody. But he had a few albums out. He had already won awards. So I wrote to him, and you know what? He and I had a little rapport. We talked for a while. Just not very long, but he and I talked on MySpace. I was like, oh, he's all right. Yeah, all right. But that helped me with my commute for sure. But I mean, I listened to music, and I listened to, I called it my Drive Time University. I listened to how to be a better salesperson, because I also had a business where I was doing sales in the world of travel. I mean, I was just anything and everything I could do to get ahead for myself and my children. I knew that eventually divorce was coming, and I wanted to be prepared financially. And of course, when it came, I wasn't. But I was at least able to buy myself a car and clothes and take care of all my personal needs, like the things that women need to buy every month for themselves, the private things, and plus minutes on my cell phone, stuff like that. I took care of my own bills for like 4 years during my marriage, and he like literally completely 100% supported me before that. And then one day he said something nasty to me about, why aren't you working, or I wish you'd bring some money in. And I'm like, okay. And I got trained online for merchandising, and I learned how to do planograms, which is when you look at a grocery store aisle, there's like all of this stuff on every shelf, right? Well, there's like a schematic where someone had to actually think this through at a corporate level. And then a peon like me would go in and put all this stuff in the correct order. And by the dates, like the newest are always in the back. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you want the freshest bread, it's always in the back. The freshest date stuff is always in the back. And again, they don't even in grocery stores, they usually don't pay enough for people to actually give a crap about the dates. And here in South America, I don't think that there's any consequence for having things out of date. Here, I have purchased butter with mold on it. I mean, it was like ridiculous. I went into another store a couple months ago, and the ice cream was liquid, like I grabbed a thing of iced tea. And I went and told them, they're like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, your cases aren't working. You need to throw all that out. And there's been so many, I've like literally had to pull store managers aside, even here, and say, look, where I'm from in California, if this was caught by an inspector for the state, that's $1,500 fine for every mislabeled shelf. Just even a mislabeled shelf, if it says Tylenol and it's aspirin on the shelf, $1,500. Oh, well, that's what the store has to pay because they screwed up. They mislabeled it. And I'm like, oh my God, every time I go to a grocery store here, I'm like, things aren't faced. I'm lining everything up like a perfect Virgo. Like it has to be all perfect. And people catch me like working in their store when I'm supposed to be shopping. I'm like, this was my job for so many years that this is like, it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy when things aren't lined up all perfect and things aren't in date. It was my job, but I commuted and commuted and commuted and commuted, and that's all I did. And it got to a point where I had to stop and do something nice for myself once in a great while. And I hope that you guys do. That could be buying yourself flowers, buying yourself a new CD to learn some new music, or even get some classic music. For a couple dollars at truck stops, they've got this crazy like hippie music from the 60s. It's so fun to sing. And one time I took my kids to Disneyland and we bought the Pirates of the Caribbean music. It was it wasn't from the movie or the ride. I think one or two songs was from the ride, but it was like a CD of all these pirate songs, like old fashioned sea shanties. And some of the songs were from the Pirates of Penzance. And oh my God, we learned every stinking word. And we took that, all the way from Disneyland, all the way back up to Northern California. Every time we went to Nevada, we had we still have it, a timeshare in Nevada in Carson City. And we would listen to it on the way to Carson City, on the way to Vegas, because I took the kids to Vegas a couple times. It was really awesome. It was really, really awesome. I don't know. I really, really enjoyed my pirate music because it was so insane. Like no one else had that. So we felt special. We're like, well, yeah, you might be in a car over there on the freeway, but you know what? Here in our car, we are pirates. We're sailing the seven seas and we are singing our sea shanties. So you best be moving far away from us, buddy. It's like we had this fantasy world, I think. Maybe it's just me. Maybe my kids are like, our mom is crazy. I don't know. I just tried to make super long treks in the car. My mom lived 12 hours away, God rest her soul. And it was so hard. It was so hard to go all the way to Huntington Beach from San Francisco with kids in the car, and they were bored and they were hungry and they were tired, and every hour they had to pee. And even when they didn't have to pee, they just really, what they secretly meant is that they needed gum or candy, They needed something to keep themselves entertained and going. And it was ridiculous, but so fun. I mean, we did a lot of family road trips. Oh my God. It was like, like every couple of weeks, road trip. So, I don't know. I mean, I always had to have something special for them. I did something special for myself once in a while. And I hope that you guys do that too. Like, buy yourself some nice cologne. Or if you're a man, maybe it's time to replace your old tired belt for your pants, or maybe you need some new kicks. Get yourself some nice shoes. And a friend of mine years ago pointed out to me that when you meet Mormons, the first thing that they do is they look at your shoes to tell if you're rich or poor, or if you're a respectful or respectable person. And I'm like, what the hell do my shoes have to do with who I am character-wise, And he just kind of explained it to me. He's like, I don't know. He's like, this is the thing that Mormons do. I'm like, all right. Weird. I have a lot of family that are Mormons, and I never knew that before. I mean, my boots usually are pretty damn old looking and worn out, because I do have a pair of boots with me that I have taken through 6 countries. And I mean, I've sailed like a little bit on the way to a part of the Caribbean through this massive river that took 3.5 hours to cross. I've taken it to the Amazon jungle. I've taken these boots through the Mexican desert. I've walked literally on the sand in Lima, Peru, on the beach. These boots have gone everywhere. They've gone everywhere. It's like if Mormons saw me, I guess I'd be a completely non-respectable person. I don't know. Anyway, or they would just think I'm poor, possibly. But what's really funny is I met a church elder for the Mormons one time. And he saw something about me, and he stopped me in the airport to ask me a question. And we started talking, and he said something about Mormonism. And I'm like, well, I've got a lot of cousins that are that. I'm not a very religious person. But he looked at my shoes, guys. He really did. It's a thing. It's a real thing. I couldn't believe it. He actually looked at my shoes, and they're all old and worn out. And I'm, well, maybe I need to always wear nice new shoes. I don't know. But that could be a thing you do nice for yourself. It really could. Anyway, I'm going to get right into some of the things that we normally do every day here. Ascension symptoms scale, we are at 99. I don't know about you guys, but I was tired all day. I woke up okay enough. I had about an hour where I was like, yeah, and then all of a sudden all the energy hit me again, and I've been foggy and kind of all day. Physically felt great, but just mentally just in a fog, in just not totally here nor there. Last night I felt my twin flame. I felt his energy with me. It was really nice. I was loving feeling him. I felt like he was in bed with me, and he had his forehead on my head, and he had his hand in my hair, and we fell asleep like that. That's how I felt like, even though I was here alone. That's how I felt. I thought that was kind of cool, actually. And I mean, 2 nights ago, I'd gone again to Andromeda. I've spent 40 years in the past 3 days over there. Does that make me like over 100 years old? They told me I was there 3 times. I don't remember. Plus the time I do remember. That's at 80 years plus, the past, 40 years. So I spent 120 years over there that I don't remember. I don't know. It's all really crazy. Multidimensionality is really crazy. In the ninth dimension, too, time isn't really a thing, but it's like their equivalent of that, but they don't really count the time. It's more like, let's count the moments type of thing. I don't know. It sounds so insane. But I'm here to be an example. I'm not going to say if it's good or bad, but I sound insane, so you don't have to. Not really. Eventually, everyone's going to realize that they're multidimensional and everyone's married to other people and other places and times and dimensions and galaxies, and we're all just going to be like, this is just a wild, wild, wild trip without the free psychedelics. But anyway, 99 it was today. My tinnitus was a little strange. It was like in the left ear and then the right, then the left, then the right, and then just completely gone. And mental fog, mental fatigue, lots of weird emotional stuff still coming up from the past. Just stuff that I'm not really like emotionally reacting to anymore, but the memories came up. Like, oh yeah, that did happen. Weird. But I'm not like even reacting anymore to it. I heard 3 songs that used to be trigger songs when I was in junior high. When I heard these songs, I would normally get very weepy and very, very sad. One of them was when my first boyfriend broke up with me, and I was 15, and oh my God, the world was going to end. I was so sad. Mike Harris, because there's no other Mike Harrises in the world. Oh wait, I dated 3 people named Michael Harris in my lifetime. 3. Only one of them was white, actually. And he was my first boyfriend. Broke my heart. Oh my God. In fact, the last time I saw him, he was running through the mall and during Christmas time. And I was running through the mall the opposite direction, and we literally just smacked into each other. And I think he might have like dropped me. I think I fell on the ground and he picked me up. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. And he's like, oh my God, Elena. I'm like, Michael, what the hell are you doing? And that was the last time I saw him. And I guess he was married and he had a kid on the way, and broke my heart all over. But there's a song talking about going down the highway on a lonely road or something. And I heard it the other day and I was all, oh, wow, that song used to be one of my triggers, and it didn't trigger me. I was like totally over it. I was like, wow. I mean, even up until maybe 10 years ago, it was bugging me. And this is like 30 years after the fact, like totally crazy. But I heard 2 or 3 songs. I was watching White Gold with Ed, what's his face? Anyway, he was on Gossip Girl, so I started watching White Gold because of him. And I had no idea he had an accent. He's from England. I had no idea. But I thought he was American. But it's a show set in the 80s, and they played 3 songs when I was watching the show yesterday that usually would make me feel very, very sad, very depressed, very, very brokenhearted, and nothing. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually healing. The science of spirituality stuff, it's actually working. There's like an actual method to our madness here. So in a moment after I do the Schumann Resonance and Lesson 18 in A Course in Miracles, I'm actually going to talk tonight about anxiety. When we feel just so anxious, worry, and it's sometimes coupled with depression. I'm going to talk about what the symptoms and signs of it are, what are possible causes of it, from physical to brain chemistry to, life experience. And we're also going to go over what it is that we can do to stop it when it starts, because we deserve better, right? If we're running, we're on the road, we deserve, if you can't afford a $100 bottle of Chanel No. 5 and that's your jam and that's your perfume, you go buy a $12 bottle at the counter in the pharmacy. Screw the department stores, go to the pharmacy. You know what I mean? And if you're wealthy, then go get the damn $100 bottle. Send your maid out to do it. Everybody deserves a little something once in a while that's going to make you feel like, it doesn't have to be something physical either. You know what? Take yourself to the beach. Go feed the seagulls. In Santa Barbara, I used to feed them French fries. They love French fries. Probably wasn't good for their cholesterol, but yeah, they're seagulls. They eat everything anyway. I feed the pigeons. I feed Fred and Ethel Mertz right out on my ledge over here. And, they're so loyal to me, even if they know I'm not going to feed them. Some days they know I'm not gonna. The minute they hear my voice or they see me in the window, they will fly from several houses away just when they see me, just to look at me and to watch me. I'm their zoo, so I'm their fun thing to do. Oh, that lady is weird today. She's going to make coffee again. That's so weird. Why should you keep doing that? They literally watch every move I make. It's crazy. I swear they work for the CIA or something. They're probably writing in tiny little notebooks in their tiny little house. It's in my window ledge. I was going to put flowers in there until I realized that they were living there. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna disturb them now. I had such great plans for that place until Fred and Ethel Mertz moved in, and now they're my nosy neighbors. Anyway, but we're gonna get to the anxiety in a moment, and what we can do about it. And you're not alone. I mean, everyone these days has anxiety from one thing or another. We're gonna unravel what it is and all that. So Schumann residents today, they only had one report, and it was very low. Today, there were no significant peaks. The maximum was 15 hertz at 6:40 UTC. However, there has been a continuous light activity, which lasted 15 hours from 22 UTC yesterday until 13 UTC today. And that was a 1700 report. That was it. Isn't that so strange? That's pretty much all they had for the whole day. So I don't know. It's all doing something. Again, we don't know what it's coming from. Is it coming from us? Is it that we have a generalized anxiety? It's not terrible. Does it get more when we feel anxiety? Is it more when we're being bombarded and we have resistance? Maybe today we're bombarded by energy, but we had no resistance. We were just allowing the light and the information to permeate our bodies, and no resistance, so no Schumann resonance. I don't know. One of my listeners did say, she wrote me today and she said, it occurred to her that possibly those orbs that I was describing, they were floating over the water, the red and orange ones, could they be Merkabahs? And she started researching it online, and other people started to say that maybe these orbs, they're going beneath the ocean and they're going along boats on Lake Michigan. Maybe they are Merkabahs. So I went into a quick little trance and I asked my higher guidance, and it's possible. It's absolutely possible. That's what I said. Is it possible that these are Merkabahs? People have gotten into their spirit light body and they're flying around, they're just floating around, and the answer is yeah, it's possible. Absolutely. I mean, you can't say in every single case, if it is for sure, but I also thought it could be us coming from the future back in the past. Maybe, the ships that we're going to be using for that will be invisible, but maybe lights can glare off of them. I don't know. Maybe someone's lighting up a joint, going to the past in their little round spaceship thing, and they're lighting up a joint because they don't have to drive because it's not like a plane or something. I don't know. There's a lot of different possibilities of it. It might not always be ET. It might be from inside the earth. It could be fae folk. Every orb is different. Some of it is just spirits floating around. I've seen spirits fly around, and I've seen fairies floating in like little glowing orbs. And, but it's very possible it's Merkabahs. I have a feeling. Can you imagine the gathering in the ocean? Oh my God, how great would that be if that's true? Anyway, okay, lesson 19 in A Course in Miracles. I said 18 earlier. I have been all kinds of messed up on the numbers, but it's 19. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. Ooh, that is perfect for today with the anxiety that we're going to talk about. I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of this thought about blank. So that would be what it is for the day. So no matter what your thought is, you're not alone in experiencing it. I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of this thought about the president. Sorry, guys. What maybe needs to be said. I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of this thought about ascension. So that's what it is for today. If you are so inclined, go check it out. Course in Miracles, you can actually listen to them verbally. You don't have to read it. So this is another thing you could do on your commute. But lesson 19, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. All right, guys, I'm going to be right back, and we're going to talk about anxiety. If you're listening to this, you obviously like podcasts, and you probably like music too. Long walks on the beach, romantic dancing under the stars, and oh wait, we're not doing that right now. On Spotify, you can listen to all of that in one place for free, and you don't even need a premium account, which is cool. Free is always good. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode. Download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, including your long romantic walks on the beach. Also, one thing I love about Spotify is that you can easily share what you're listening to with your friends via Spotify's integrations with the social platforms like Instagram. So that makes it really, really versatile. Just search for Metaphysical Soul Speak on the Spotify app or browse podcasts in the Your Library tab. And follow me, of course, don't forget, so that you'll never again miss an episode of Metaphysical Soul Speak. Spotify is the world's leading music streaming service, and now it can be your go-to for podcasts too. Thank you guys so much for supporting Metaphysical Soul Speak on Spotify. All right, guys, anxiety can be considered to be a form of fear, and we all know what a fear is. It's false evidence appearing real. When we perceive something that's not maybe the truth or what reality is, but we think it's true. It appears real to us. It's false, but we don't know that, or at least our minds don't know that. Kind of what we've been going through with the Course in Miracles. So basically false evidence appearing real, right? A fear. But sometimes it has a basis in reality. Phobias do not. So sometimes a fear has a basis in reality, but our reaction is not realistic. But a phobia it can cause a straight up panic attack, and it has absolutely no thread to the past. It's just like a random, one day you're totally fine, and another day you're screaming your head off every time you see a clown. Yeah. Or a spider or whatever. But a phobia can come out of nowhere. But we're going to go over that too. Now, anxiety disorders, according to WebMD, is an umbrella term that includes different conditions. That includes panic disorder and social anxiety disorder, or specific phobias, or generalized anxiety. So I'm going to go over those from WebMD. They say that a panic disorder, it's a terror that strikes at random. And when you have a panic attack, you feel like you're having a heart attack. You feel chest pain, you start to sweat, you have palpitations that can be irregular heartbeats or unusually strong heartbeats out of nowhere. And sometimes you feel like you're choking or like you're dying of a heart attack. There's a lot of movies, a lot of comedy movies. They make fun of this, don't they? Oh my God, I'm dying. Oh my God, call 911. And they get there and they're like, you just had a panic attack. We're going to give you some pills. And that's like, it's like, oh, that's it. I'm not dying. No, you're not. Maybe lay off the steaks, lay off the donuts, but no, you're not. There's always like jokes about it. It's funny. It's very funny. And it's mostly funny because the person really isn't dying, right? But it's not funny if this happens to you. It's not funny at all, Jerry. Not at all. Now, social anxiety disorder, it also has been called social phobia. It's when you're really scared. It says when you're overwhelmingly worried or self-conscious about everyday social situations, and you fixate on the fact that others might be judging you, or you might be embarrassed or possibly ridiculed. Yeah, I would have to agree with all the above, but social anxiety disorder, what they're not taking into consideration here on WebMD is that, hello, some of us are introverts, and when we're shoved into the spotlight, we're not happy with that. I just saw an article, I want to say it was on TED Talks, about someone who said, teachers, please stop making introverts participate in class. It's literally hurting children to do that, to force them to be something they're not. Why can't people just be loved and accepted for who they are? Introverts, extroverts, whatever. Extroverts are the ones raising their hands in class going, ooh, 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 Mr. Carter, pick me, pick me, pick me, like TV's Horse Shack on Welcome Back, Kotter, right? Pick me, ooh, 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 yeah, that's me. That's an extrovert. An introvert is a shy person in the back of the class going, oh my God, I will do anything. I will go to church 5 days a week if they just don't call on me, No, I mean, that's an introvert that's maybe religious, but that was me in the back, like, oh, please don't look at me. Please don't look at me. Please don't look at me. Oh, damn it. They're calling on me again. It's completely terrifying and painful because I just never wanted to be called on. And I grew up in a classroom of 18 people. Okay. We went from class to class to class together because we didn't have extra or different classes. I grew up in a very tiny high school. In fact, kindergarten through 12th grade, one building, and it was only 200 people. And that was, I think, 220 if you want to count the teachers. It was a pretty tiny school. So, in fact, we had an all-school reunion. Everybody who had ever attended that school in the history of that school that was still alive. And we took up like 2 blocks or something, 3 blocks of people, wall-to-wall people, but about three blocks maybe. Not a lot of people. I mean, we thought it was like 1,000 people. We're like, dang, so many people here. But I've been to concerts with more people, to be honest. But I grew up with this feeling of this panic. Oh, don't call on me. Just don't call on me. But social anxiety disorder, I think, also has to do with when you're empathic, when you're just feeling so much and you're overwhelmed and when you pull, especially if you're a healer, an empathic healer, so you're pulling in like a freaking magnet right into your heart, right into your chest and your gut. You're pulling in the negative emotions of all the people around you when you don't know how to stop it, when you don't know how to actually heal them. And it starts happening anyway because it's just like who you are. This is naturally who you are. You're like a cleaner for society. And it just starts flowing your way. And you're just like, so it's not like you have social anxiety disorder. It's not a disorder. It's just that no one teaches you that you're an empath. This is what's happening. This is how you need to protect yourself. This is what you need to do to fix people that are around you. How to send their crap back to them when they can handle it. How to transmute it or send it into the earth when they cannot handle getting their own stuff back. People just we're not taught that. I'm 50 years old and I'm still kind of learning this. I should have known this when I was 5. But now they're just calling it social anxiety disorder and throwing medicine at it. Anyway, what happens when you have anxiety? These are some of the main symptoms when you have anxiety disorder. Social anxiety disorder, it says, when you are afraid to talk to strangers, speaking in public, dating. This is all introvert and empathic stuff, but we'll just keep going. You're afraid. Some people are afraid to use public restrooms, entering rooms, making eye contact, going to parties, eating in front of other people. That's a big one. When you're so embarrassed and scared that you might have spinach in your teeth or just anything. My whole life, that never happened to me, the spinach in the teeth, until I met my husband, the father of my kids. Every stinking time we went out to eat for the first year that we were together, every time I had a piece of lettuce or I had a piece of spinach, I always had stuff on my teeth. And my whole life, that never happened to me. I don't know if I was so scared of just nervous being around him or just excited to be together. I don't know what the deal was, but it happened every time. Or pepper. Oh my God, big black things of pepper on my teeth every time. I'm like, is it that my entire life nobody bothered to say anything to me and this has always been happening? Or is it only because I'm with him now? And it created a lot of anxiety. I'm like, oh my God, you can't take me anywhere. But I had this when I was in high school. I was terrified that I was going to spill my water. I'd be so scared that I inevitably spilled my soda or my water all over the table, all over other people. I even was so scared to talk to other people that when they'd say something funny, I would go and I'd spit all over the other person. Seriously, I don't do this anymore, but when I was a teenager, you literally could not eat with me. The say it, don't spray it. I was like the spray girl. It was so bad. So bad. Now I have a handle on it and I'm totally okay with myself. But before, when I wasn't quite accepting myself yet, and I was heavily abused as a kid, really badly as a teenager by my stepmom. And I was terrified. I was terrified to go anywhere. I was really scared, all the time. And I was especially when I was out with her specifically, she would knock me to the ground. She'd backhand me and I would just fall to the ground. And it was just what the hell? I'd have my face would be bloody from her ring, or my head would have gravel in it if we were outside. It was bad, really bad. And so I was terrified. I was terrified of going out. But, people get afraid to go to work, to go to school. People sometimes it'll get, the anxiety disorder will get so bad that they'll make excuses why not to go to work. And I've been there. I've done that. I know how to fake being sick. It's horrible. But it's when you're an empath and you are an introvert, and there's just some days you're just oh, hell no, I can't even leave the house today. There's no way. If you see a gardener outside, that's it. I can't even interact with that person. How am I going to interact with all the people at work? I've had days like that. And I'm sure if you suffer from anxiety, probably you've gone through this. Some of the physical symptoms of anxiety are rapid heartbeat, muscle tension, inability to breathe, stomach trouble, sometimes diarrhea. So then you can now call in and go, oh, I've got the stomach flu. Have you ever had so much anxiety that not only can you not go to work, you're terrified of actually calling into work, and then you're so scared of being exposed? Oh my God. And then you have to plug your nose. You're kind of,
I can't really talk. I'm just so sick.
Oh, yeah, okay. I gotta go. I gotta run to the bathroom. Oh, my stomach. Have you ever had to do that? It's horrible. We've all done it. It is so horrible. And I always did it on my birthday because, damn it, it's my birthday. I don't want to have to deal with other people on my damn birthday. Thank God I'm never going to have another employer. Hopefully, knock on wood, but knock on my leg. No, knock on wood. All right, there we go. So if you feel like you have the inability to catch your breath, or you feel like you're floating out of your body, or that your head is floating above your body, or you don't feel your body at all, but yet you still have a lot of muscle tension, the rapid heartbeat especially, where you're just like, it's so bad. It's so bad. And it can affect your life. I mean, for real, you start to have negative thoughts about yourself. It can lead to depression. You can have low self-esteem. You can feel like you're not worthy. You could get extremely sensitive to criticism, and you can develop really poor social skills that just don't get better, or they get better in time, but when you learn to build up your self-esteem and your confidence. So we'll go over that on another day. But pretty much, I mean, it's all pretty intense. You could look on WebMD yourself for more detailed information. But I'm going to go over some of the things that cause it, because sometimes for a fact, if you have PTSD, then for sure that you have it, right? But sometimes people don't. Some of the other things it didn't say, when you start to feel really sweaty and shaky and your palms start to sweat, you start to feel like the prickly sweat on the back of your neck sometimes, or sometimes it go across your chest. Your feet start to sweat a lot and your hands start to sweat a lot. Kind of like imagine your first date when you were a teenager, or whenever you had your first date. If you've ever been on a first date. I mean, for me, it's just pretty much every first date with every person I've ever dated. Not just my literally very first date, but every time. I'm just like, well, good thing I wear thick jeans. I keep rubbing my hands on my pants. Makes it look like I don't feel my legs. I look like I'm high. Like, where are my legs? Are they still there? But, all right. So you can have anxiety with or without depression. It could come out of nowhere. Sometimes you could have it and you never had it before, and you've always been a confident, strong person with great self-esteem. In that case, screw you. I'm just kidding. Just totally kidding. Go back to that high horse you fell off of and leave us alone. The rest of us filled with anxiety-ridden people. I'm just kidding. I'm teasing. It can happen out of nowhere. And I'm going to tell you why it can happen out of nowhere, especially when you get a phobia out of nowhere. So, yeah, all right. So it can happen with or without depression. If you have long-standing anxiety that's again and again and again every single day, that can actually lead to depression. So if you don't know where the depression came from, especially when it gets really bad and you start feeling like maybe you don't want to live anymore because you can't live with the anxiety and you're so depressed about it, and then you start to feel like maybe you want to kill yourself. Well, there are reasons why this is happening. It's not your fault. And most anxiety is not your fault. It's just crap that happens, Usually anxiety it's a form of fear. And fear is basically, besides the false evidence appearing real, it's like fight or flight syndrome. It goes back to when we were cavemen. You hear a roar outside. You hear a roar outside now, it's a motorcycle. It might cause panic and fear, which is insane. The motorcycle is not going to get you when you're inside an apartment building on the 10th floor, but you still sometimes might feel a little anxiety, because back in the caveman days, in our DNA somewhere, someone in our long line of ancestry way back in the beginning, they heard a roar and they knew it was a dinosaur coming to eat them. Or a saber-toothed tiger or whatever. They knew that might mean that they they might be hunted, and so that's that fight or flight syndrome. Birds have that. It's like when you have fight or flight syndrome, you feel like you need to go number 2. And that's what birds do. When they're scared, they'll crap where they are and then take off flying because they don't want to fight. I mean, unless you're Fred Mertz, my pigeon outside my window, he will fight us. He has attacked us. It's it's a little scary, but not really, because it doesn't hurt. Because he just slaps us with his really super soft wing, which is super adorable, but it can be pretty annoying. It's like, Fred, you don't have to attack us, man. He gets kind of angry sometimes. He's got an anger issue. He had to kick, by the way, they kicked out their teenage kid. As soon as their little baby grew up and lost all his baby feathers, and he was worse than Fred with the anger issues, they kicked him out of the nest. And he's gone. They're like, nah, you can't stay here. That was quick though. I mean, just a few months and boom, he's out. But so the causes of anxiety, there's a lot of causes, okay? It's not always obvious. There's a muscle called the psoas muscle, PSOAS. And this is more commonly known as your hip flexor. Now, when you live a life in which you are sitting a lot in your car, and then you get up and you walk a few feet to your desk at work, and then you sit all day for 8 hours at your desk, if that's the kind of work that you're doing, chances are, if you're feeling anxiety, you might be having a problem with your psoas muscle. And what this does is it gets so tight and tense, it literally starts to create all kinds of conditions in your body that lead to stress, and that leads to things being released in your brain and things being released from your adrenal glands, and hormones start flowing through your body, and it creates this horrible anxiety. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you are sitting up a lot during the day, you're not laying down a lot or walking or standing a lot, and even if you are, it still could be something that's affecting you. There is a program on, oh gosh, you just look it up. You got to Google it or Bing it. Bing it. There's a new verb. Just look it up on your browser. And look up the hip flexor program. It's a series of exercises. It's 5 exercises. It takes 10 minutes. And when you do these exercises in the correct order, you unravel the psoas muscle, and it will automatically calm you down, and you won't have anxiety anymore. How weird is that, right? This is not mentioned on, excuse me, it's absolutely not mentioned on WebMD. They just think it's all social or mental, but it could be physical in that way. It might literally just be your psoas muscle. If your stomach looks like it's sticking out a little bit more than it should, when you unravel the psoas muscle, you're going to automatically have better posture, and you're going to look thinner. Your stomach won't even stick out as far, because when it's tense, it pushes your stomach forward. So, I mean, there's a lot of good that could come through doing this psoas muscle unraveling through the hip flexor program. It's like the hip flexors, or unraveling your hip flexors, or something. It's literally called hip flexor or hip flexors. And it's a muscle that goes all the way into your legs, all the way up to your mid-abdomen. And literally, it's how you walk. If you didn't have this muscle, we wouldn't be able to walk forward. So that's one thing. You can have a poor diet or bad habits that create anxiety. Smoking cigarettes. Yeah, nicotine. Nicotine is a big one. It can really cause a lot of anxiety. It can set off a whole chain of reactions in your body. Nicotine can deplete your body of minerals and sometimes vitamins, and it can create hormonal. are physically and emotionally and psychologically addicted to the cigarettes and to the stuff that they put in them, especially if you're not smoking straight up natural tobacco, which even that now stop smoking altogether is probably the best thing you and I and everybody knows it, but I don't smoke cigarettes. I did long time ago, but hardly, like one a day or 3 a week. It wasn't even that much. I think it took like a year for me to smoke a whole pack. I had to buy a new pack before I finished it because they were so stale and old. But in fact, this guy left, my friend, he left a pack of cigarettes here, like in December. Last time I saw him on Christmas Day, he left a pack of cigarettes in my room. He came and he opened my window and he's like smoking a cigarette out of my window because he knew I had asthma and he didn't want, the smoke to be in my house, which, okay, thanks. That's nice of you. Plus he liked to watch the traffic on the street and he left the pack here and he never came back for it. It's just pack cigarettes. It's still here. It's still like practically full. In fact, when I dyed my hair and I forgot to wear gloves, when you take a cigarette, if you burn it all the way down and you take the ashes and you rub that on your hands, it will get rid of the dye from your hair dye. Weird, right? So that's what I use them for, stupid things like that, to get to get stains out of my hands. I don't even use them for like cigarettes. Blah. But anyway, if you have a poor diet, if you are not eating enough vegetables, and if you're lacking minerals, especially magnesium, I cannot stress it enough. If you do not have magnesium supplements, I'm to the point where I will put a half a teaspoon in a glass of water. It is the worst flavor ever, but my body craves it so much. It tastes super good to me now. I just drink it right down. And sometimes when I need extra, my body will crave more and I'll just like drink it and it tastes good to me now. But if you have a problem with cortisol, when your adrenal glands are pumping out more cortisol, you might be having a problem with your stomach might be sticking out. You might have fat on the back of your neck. I did talk about this before, but the Dr. Berg, B-E-R-G, go check him out and all of his stuff on his YouTube channel. He is an incredible teacher, and he will talk about this quite a bit. If you have the adrenal body type and you have a hard time losing weight, in fact, if you start to have like an exercise program where you're out exercising and you come home and you're exhausted and it does not give you energy and it seems like you're losing muscle faster suddenly and you're not really losing weight, you're like gaining weight, you might be the type of person that your anxiety is coming from adrenal glands pumping out extra cortisol. And as long as this is out of whack in your body, there's no way that any amount of exercise will ever help you lose weight, and you're not going to get better muscles out of it. Everything will go kaput. You have to get right. You have to have 7 to 10 cups of vegetables every single day, and he teaches you how to do it in a really quick and easy way. Usually putting them in a blender and drinking them down is easier. And meat. You have to eat meat. 4 to 6 ounces of steak or whatever kind of meat every single meal. He especially in the beginning for the first few weeks. You get this straight. I know that when I don't eat meat for a few days, my anxiety is worse. And I know that if I eat like a 4-ounce steak, I feel so calm and I could sleep so well. And my body wants to sleep early on those days when I eat meat. And I'll wake up the next day and I even look thinner and I look better and I look younger. I am this body type, so I know this well. This is so true. And stopping all the grains, even oatmeal, he says in the beginning, especially when you're doing this diet in the beginning, just stop all grains, rice, oatmeal, especially wheat. Wheat is like good for nobody. But brain chemistry is another way that anxiety is when it formulates inside of you. And sometimes this can be hereditary. That's another way. Maybe it's just hereditary in your family and everyone's anxious and worried. Or could it be your surroundings? Nature versus nurture. I grew up around my grandma. She was constantly worried. I loved her. I admired her, wanted to be just like her. Oh my God. In that way, now I'm just like her. I worry all the time. And I don't know, is it because I'm a Virgo? Is it because I loved and admired my grandma? I don't know. And when she got overwhelmingly worried, she will hit the scotch. I've got a bottle of scotch in my cupboard here, not her brand or something. And I don't do it all that often. But every now and again, I'll just grab a little shot of scotch, or vodka or whatever. But she was a serious alcoholic. Thank you, God, I'm not. But I mean, a lot of people try to self-medicate when they have anxiety, and it's not going to work. That does not help your brain chemistry. When you have anxiety, scientists have discovered that you are lacking in serotonin and GABA, G-A-B-A. So those are things that if you have a physical or hereditary anxiety, a lot of times they can check your levels of these if you really want to go that far into the science of it, because your brain chemistry would be off. Now, I think that most anxiety is from your life experiences. Obviously, if you are an empath, if you are an introvert, and you're forced into a social situation or forced to be around a lot of people because of your job or your family or whatever it is, if you're in school, especially like university, it could be very serious anxiety producing, especially when you feel like you always have a bunch of deadlines. You've got to get to them, and I don't know if I'm going to make it. Especially in university. Oh my God, it caused so much anxiety. I could not wait to get out of university so I could smoke pot every day. Because while I was in university, I only smoked during like summer break or Christmas break. I was really scared to do it, even on the weekends, because I did not want to lose I didn't know if it ruined your brain cells. I didn't know what it did, but I knew that I didn't want to have any part of that. But having those constant deadlines and being terrified of not making it, and all that money and all that time, you don't want to waste it, and you get so scared when you're in university. It's so hard. And I know we've all been there, right? I mean, all those of us who've gone to university, it's scary stuff. Sometimes it could create anxiety, but life experiences could be anything. I mean, if you grew up poor, if you grew up and had a life of poverty, and even if you're super wealthy right now, you still might have that anxiety from your childhood. If you're always constantly moving back and forth, I've known a lot of families that move back and forth between the southern states. Well, it's time to move to Florida. That's where the opportunity is. At least we'll have the beach, If we become homeless, we'll go live on the beach, I've met several families that was their thing. I grew up in California, and we were so poor that even though both my parents worked, we had to move to Minnesota. And then we bought a house, and then our money, it wasn't stretching. And then my dad had his own business, and that was still not enough. He owned a gas station. That was still not enough. And so he had a gas station. He had to hire someone at minimum wage. And then he went to work 60 hours a week in a sugar beet factory. And then he got diabetes because breathing in all that sugar created diabetes. And he got really overweight. And he was just like, what the hell? So then my grandma's like, oh yeah, you guys go live out in the farm. I mean, so many times I moved from different parts, like Huntington Beach to LA to the Valley I moved all over California. Then we moved to Minnesota. Then in Minnesota, we moved around, and my whole life I moved around. Every couple years, I'm living in another place. That kind of lifestyle, especially when it's forced on you as a kid, you end up repeating the pattern as an adult, which I have been doing. And even when I got a house in Detroit, one thing led to another. And I did talk about that a few months ago. The reason why I had to leave the States again. It was just like one thing led to another. And it's like, it's a constant state of anxiety. The stability isn't there. And when you have it when you're a kid and it's just, that can be a huge thing. Life experiences such as being poor. I have a friend whose mom and dad were killed in a car accident when he was 6 years old. and he had to go live with his uncle, or his uncle had to come and live with him. And then one day when he was at school, his uncle sold his mom and dad's house out from under him. And he said, hey, can you go do me a favor? Here's some money. I'm going to give you $5. Can you go get a pack of cigarettes? And my friend said, sure, why not? And he went to the store to get his uncle a pack of cigarettes like he had already done so many times before. 6 years old, right? In the middle of, like, I don't know, where did he say? He was somewhere in the Midwest. And when he got back, his uncle was gone and the door was locked. And he sat on the porch, like, waiting for him. And a few hours come by and a couple pull up in a U-Haul truck. And they said, what are you doing? Are you lost, sweetie? And he goes, I'm waiting for my uncle. They're like, oh, we're sorry. He moved. This is our house. And he became homeless at the age of 6 years old. Tell me that didn't, create a situation where he doesn't feel loved. He feels abandoned, scared and alone and anxiety ridden. He's actually a restaurant owner now in Las Vegas. One of the coolest people I've ever met. But he's, I think he always had that anxiety, Life circumstances can really, really screw you up. So, okay, let's see what else I have. As far as life experiences, if you were abused, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, or sexually, or like punching, physically, that can cause it. That would be enough to create adult anxiety. Whether you're aware of it or not, whether you remember it or not, whether you feel you got over it or not, you might have gotten over it. You might have forgiven the person. You might have even confronted the person. You might have already gone to a psychotherapist or a psychologist about it. But the anxiety that produces of not knowing if someone's going to hurt you or hit you or come at you from an angle, that's really hard. I mean, you could be like completely over it, but then you could be in a restaurant with somebody, with a group of friends, and someone raises their hand to attract the waiter, and you're going to duck real quick. You're going to do that quick little, like move, like you're, in a boxing ring, and you got to move your head because you don't want them to hit you. And I mean, it's like, I still have that. It's just like, I don't want to, someone moves up, I'll like move out of the way. My reflexes are really, really, I'm like super fast. I know how to duck, but it's like, it's kind of embarrassing, when someone, they'll move their hand, you just kind of quickly do that little, ooh, I start dancing around a little bit. No, sorry, you're not going to hit me today, Chet. But all that is anxiety producing, especially if that happens in public. You're just like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing. Then you have to go, I was kind of abused as a kid quite a bit. I was hit, I was knocked around a lot. So I have to, protect myself. And how I do that is I'm like really fancy on my feet. Chet. It's funny to me now that I go through this, but it's not really that funny when you think about it. Yeah, but laugh, you cry. But if you've ever been even in an accident, if you've been in a car accident or a bicycle accident, I mean, I've been in a really gnarly bike accident. I was in car accidents, and I've been in near accidents where I was almost run off the road a couple times. One person tried to run me off the road, and he started screaming at me to go back to my own country when I was in California because I was wearing a hijab. And I pulled off the road. I was so scared, and he followed me, and I had kids in the car, and I started screaming obscenities at him, which is not a good look for any Muslim, because we're supposed to be loving and kind to everybody. And I'm sorry. I grew up in LA. I have serious PTSD. I have serious anxiety. I will stand my ground, and I will fight for myself, because I felt most of my life no one was there to fight for me or to protect me. So I learned how to fight for myself. I mean, I took a lot of martial arts classes, and so it's I got that fight, and plus the Irish fighting spirit and the redhead thing going. It's like, I will fight tooth and nail, even if it's probably to my own demise someday if someone is attacking me. And it's just because I had to learn how to be strong. And scared the crap out of me, though. This guy was screaming at me for being Muslim and telling me to go back to my own country. And I'm like, I'm like screaming at him, like, Muslims have been in our country for 300 years. So why don't you learn your damn history, number one? And number two, it's none of your business where the hell I'm from. That doesn't give you the right to try to kill me. That makes you a criminal. And number three, I've got kids in my car. Do you really want to go to jail for the rest of your life because you killed a mother who is a widow with 2 children? And he was just like, what? I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? F off. If you want to come over here and fight me right now in front of my children, let's go. I've got the cops on speed dial. And then he's like, well, you're not worth it. I'm like, yeah, I thought so. And he took off. I'm like, but see those kind of situations, it's like when you already had your whole life full of anxiety and then that happens, those kind of things can happen and make it worse. It can kind of just like propel itself into the future. So when this happens again, you're not just gonna be like, oh, well, let's have a reasonable conversation. You're gonna be like, oh, no, I'm coming out fighting now, chat. There's no way. People who have been in war, soldiers, have really bad PTSD, really bad anxiety. If you've ever been robbed or raped, even in a bar fight, if you've ever been in a bar fight, every time you're in a bar from forevermore, you're always going to be watching your back. You're going to sit with your back to the wall. If you've ever been to an earthquake, you sit with your back against the wall, away from the glass windows and away from anything in the ceiling that can fall on top of you. Forevermore, I will do that. Forevermore, I will always make sure I'm away from the windows after I saw what happened in Northridge when I was in that quake. It's just now it becomes a part of you. So, something I wanted to mention about phobias, though. Fears usually have a basis in reality, what happened before. And now you have an overreaction to little things. If someone says a word to you, now you're like, oh, yeah, you want to fight? You get all pissed off. And, at least that's me now. I never did that before. But years, 50 years of being beaten up or attacked or bullied or whatever. And now I'll stand my ground. Now I will stand up for myself because no one else ever was there for me. But it creates even more anxiety because it's like, oh my God, I hope no one calls my bluff and tries to fight, because I know how to fight and I will fight, but I don't want to. I never want to, I want to be a pacifist. And so that creates anxiety. And traveling, oh my God, traveling has created a lot more anxiety. Because I've been in a lot more situations, I've been spit on in Mexico because I was a gringo. Just because of the color of my skin, I've been spit on. I've had people pretend they couldn't see me, like I wasn't really there. I've had people talk about me in Spanish thinking I didn't understand them. I mean, just taxi drivers, I'll see that the meter says $2 and they'll say it's $4, stuff like that, like just straight up racism. It's like, all this creates anxiety. So just even little things. And I can't imagine being a person of color in the United States right now. My heart goes out to everyone who's ever had to suffer at the hands of racism. If you have ever been discriminated against, no matter what it is, if it's transphobia, homophobia, racism, whatever it is, even if you're a woman and you're just being looked at because you have clothes that are not wealthy, if you're not wealthy, just all that creates anxiety, right? But something I noticed that blood sugar issues can cause a serious problem. Hello. Mom to the Brady Bunch. She came to Hypnosis Motivational Institute before she got the Brady Bunch part. She was an actor and she had to go out on stage, and I don't know if she had to say a speech or perform. And when she got to that point where she was going to go on stage, she had a blood sugar drop. And all of a sudden she got a terrible fright and she couldn't go on stage, and she thought her career was going to be over. Florence Henderson, her career was going to be completely over. And she was terrified, and she went to Hypnosis Motivation Institute, where I got my degree in hypnotherapy. And this is like years and years and years ago, obviously, before the Brady Bunch. And she talked to the the director, Dr. John Kappas. And she said, I don't know what the hell happened to me. And he's like, well, let me walk back through your life. When have you ever felt stage fright? She said, never. I'm a ham. She's like, I'll go out and do anything on stage. I'm an actor. I'm a ham. I like the attention. I like that. And he's like, so what happened that day? Walk me through it. And she forgot to eat breakfast. And all she had was orange juice, which will drop your blood sugar just boom, like that. And what happened was she got a little scared, like the stage fright butterfly situation, which is usually good anxiety. Usually it's like, all right, can't wait to get out there. Can't wait to get out there. You get on stage, you're like, bam, and now you're okay. I mean, I know because I'm an actor too, and I've been on stage. I've been on stage dancing and performing, acting, because I like to act, because when I'm on stage, I'm not me, I'm someone else. So it doesn't affect me. But it affects me right when I'm still me, getting into the character, then I'm affected by the anxiety and the stage fright. But getting on stage and starting to dance, and I know the routine, my body has that down, and boom, and I can do the routine. I mean, I danced all the way through, from when I was very little all the way through high school, and I acted through college. And I didn't have an issue with it. But so I know what she's going through, like that anxiety butterfly thing. And then you get out there and boom, and everything's fine. But she got out there and she just choked because her blood sugar dropped. And she just couldn't speak. She just was like that. So, and she had this big audition coming up for the Brady Bunch. And so Dr. Kappas said, okay, you need to make sure your diet, you have protein. Make sure before your audition you eat. And he went through the whole thing about nutrition with her. And obviously she landed the part, and we all love her as the Brady Bunch mom. So, and they incidentally got married like a year or so later, ran into each other in a party, and it was, she's like, you helped me. I don't know what I'd do without you. And they fell in love, and they were married 27 years, I want to say. So, God rest both of them. They've both passed by now. But he told me the story directly. I was in a classroom and he told us all that story. It was amazing, right? So, anyway, blood sugar plays a huge part. So you've got to really make sure your diet is good. You have to have protein. I mean, if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, get your spirulina shake in every morning. Whatever you do, eat your avocados. Whatever it is, if you are a vegetarian and you eat eggs and cheese, whatever it is, it's going to make sure your blood sugar is going to be balanced, because that could create a phobia. And now forevermore, you're afraid of like that spider that you saw when you had a low blood sugar. It doesn't have to be stage fright. It could be like a stupid thing, like a spider or a clown. Well, okay, everyone's afraid of clowns. We're not going to talk about that. Sometimes you could be affected by drugs. Cocaine creates a huge amount of anxiety and panic and paranoia. So cocaine can cause it, and it can change your brain chemistry. And even after, 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours after, it could still affect and throw off your brain chemistry. If you've ever done blow, you know that the next day you're going to be angry, short-tempered, really pissed off. When you do it, you're like, yeah, I feel so great. And then the next day you're like, you know what, screw you, get out of my life. You just it's like, there's like no love left. There's like no love, because it screws your brain chemistry up, which is why I say don't do it. If you like the pain-free thing it causes, just drink coca tea. Go to South America and drink coca tea. Cocaine is not worth it. Amphetamines, methamphetamines, crystal meth, all of that kind of stuff creates anxiety. Caffeine can cause anxiety. If you have too much, you can actually have a problem with it. Now, usually marijuana will put you, or cannabis will put you in a situation where you feel calm and relaxed. Not if you have THC sensitivity. Not if you get some of the crazy strains that they have out. Just plain Mexican dirt weed, that's fine. But when you start getting into the heavy duty, this one's crossed with that one, is crossed with that one, and it's like the super weed, the one-hit wonder weeds, where you take one hit and you're like, damn, and you're like, you can't move for like 6 hours. And After like 5 hours, you realize you're drooling and you didn't realize your mouth was even open. Those are the kinds of weeds you need to avoid, especially if you have THC sensitivity. So my oldest was like, I got to California, weed is legal. Oh my God. Smoked it a couple times. He's like, oh my God, I have THC sensitivity. I'm so pissed off. I can't even smoke weed anymore. What happened? He's like, so now he's clean. He's like, I'm just sober now. Oh, well, He's like, this sucks. This sucks so bad, Mom. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. But okay. Sometimes you might have anxiety because you're wanting something that you don't have right now. If you have a fear of a future that will never come, like someday I'm going to have my car, someday I'm going to have my house, someday I'm going to own my stuff, someday I'm going to have that love of my life, someday I'm going to have my kids I want, someday I'm going to have, my degree. And it feels like it's a future that's never coming. What you want now and what you want in the future, or what you have now, what you want in the future, when there's a huge gap, creates massive anxiety. Okay, so if you have also, when the future doesn't come fast enough for you, or you have a fear of the future that you think you can never have. So you want a house. You don't think you're ever going to get a house. I go through this a lot myself. I want to be, I want to own my own house. I don't need to be a bajillionaire, but I would like to have money where I don't have to worry. I don't have to rely on another human being. I'm working on it now. Waiting for Bitcoin to fall down. It went up to 13,000 yesterday for one Bitcoin. Waiting for it to go down, about around 8,000, and I'll maybe invest a little bit. But, stuff like that. I mean, oh my God, doing Wall Street stock markets, that can create anxiety right there. You got to have the shield of armor around you. You have to have an iron stomach to deal with this crap. It's like there's days there's like weeks or months I just don't even look at my stocks. There's no way. I can't handle it. Too much anxiety. But sometimes with the future stuff, what you need to realize that you have to recognize now, in this very moment, you are okay. Okay? You're fine. You're fine right now. Do what you can now. If there's nothing you can do about it now, that's okay. You're okay right now. You're still alive. There's not a massive beast trying to attack you through the window. There's no dinosaurs anymore. The pterodactyls are not trying to pick you up and fly you away to their nest. You're okay. I mean, really. You're fine. If you're hearing this message, you're probably fine. Right in this very moment, you're okay. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest secret. Reel it back in. Rewind and know that you're here now and you're okay now. Now, another thing that causes anxiety is when you have lack of control of your life situations. All right. So when you're lacking control in your life situations, it's the same thing. Recognize that you're here now. In this very moment, you're okay. So this is your help. The first thing is recognize now you are okay. Second thing, breathe. You're okay. Take a deep breath. Anything to do with breathing. Do biofeedback. Do mindfulness. Do meditation. Sing. Sing a song right now. You're going to be okay. I mean, Horse with No Name. Everyone knows that song. We all love that song. On the first part of the journey. That song? I was looking for all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. Okay, that song. It's a song about doing heroin, but we're not going to talk about that right now. All right, essential oils that can help you release, relax, and let go with your anxiety. Chamomile. Chamomile's freaking awesome. I love chamomile. Chamomile essential oil smells like apples. It smells like an apple orchard to me. It's a beautiful, beautiful scent. Lang Lang, if your anxiety is about love, Lang Lang is a good one. Rose essential oil is so high in vibration. You can't help but smile when you smell roses. Things that make you happy if you have depression with your anxiety, all of the citrus oil family. Essential oils of grapefruit, orange, mandarin, lime, bergamot. If you are having problems with money and your anxiety is surrounding money, bills, and anxiety about money, bergamot. Use it in your magic rituals. If you are a magician, if you want to do a little bit of folk magic, bergamot is a big one to call money. Put a drop of bergamot on all of your bills. When you receive your bills, when people give you change back, take it with your left hand. That's your receiving hand. And when you pay money out, give it with your right hand, because that is your giving hand, and you're giving the other person love and joy and imagine riches for them as well. And then when they give it to you in your left hand, same thing. Goes in a circle, completes the circuit. I just learned that the other day. I thought that was amazing. Lavender essential oil will help with anxiety, especially at night if you can't sleep. You're freaking out because you can't sleep. You can't calm those thoughts. Lavender will help. Again, the meditation, mindfulness, exercise in the afternoon, that will stop anxiety. Do the psoas muscles. Don't forget the hip flexor program, okay? Walking, just walking. Go to the mall and walk. Go to the mall. Go to the park. Walk around the block. Aqua aerobics is one of my most favorite exercises. It's pretty relaxing. I used to go, and there's a lot of older ladies that would go, and it's right after I gave birth to my kids, and I think my youngest one was at like 2, and I was having a lot of anxiety. And I took them to the pool. I'm like, we'll go swimming together, and I'll do my aqua aerobics class, and then we'll all swim together in the pool for an hour after. And they would help the teacher. So it was fun. They would go with me, and they'd help the teacher, and they'd have a good time. And it was wonderful. Swimming, just normal swimming, hopping up and down in a pool. You don't have to actually swim. That actually just being in the water. And then if you connect with the water spirits, make it a magical experience. Connect with the sylphs when the air blows on you. Connect with the sun. Do the spiritual stuff. The spiritual stuff makes it all worthwhile. Connecting with your, also the Himalayan 5 rites before I forget. Yoga, Himalayan 5 rites, yogi exercises, not only yoga, but from the Himalayan yogis. Just look up 5 rites, RITES. That will keep you young and also will create a situation where you no longer feel with anxiety. Hypnosis, if you need to see a professional hypnotherapist, I highly recommend it. Creative visualization. I might start to put a couple of these out in time. Once I get my everything going on my website, I'll have some downloads. I may have a couple of free downloads, and then I will do like a longer one for just a little bit of money, just a few dollars. Normally in person, I charge a lot more, so it's better if you just download it. So see a professional if you have to. If it's about your childhood, see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Get medicine if you have to. If you just try it for a week, see what happens. If it's really super, super bad, you might need that. But if it's about your business and you're not getting where you need and you're worried about computer-related stuff, maybe the professional you need is a web designer, Maybe you need someone to help you with your business, right? Maybe you need a maid if your anxiety is coming because you hate to clean and now your house is a mess and you can't think. That's another thing. ASMR, isochronic tones, and binaural beats will help relax you immediately. Go check those out on YouTube. Rife frequencies, remember your Rife app, that will help. Color therapy, go listen to my color therapy one. Maybe your walls are painted red and you need them to be blue. Maybe you need them to be green. Maybe you need to be surrounded by different colors. That could be it. Go outside in nature. That's always helpful. Psychedelics, if you want to take ayahuasca with a shaman, come down to Ecuador. Lot of shamans. Ayahuasca will help you find the root cause of anxiety, especially if it's a past life I could do past life regression. That's something that I know very well as a hypnotherapist. Your hypnotherapist can do past life if you don't know where it comes from. It might be a past life thing. You just don't know. If it's ascension related, that also, sometimes THC can work, or, weed can work, unless you have the THC sensitivity. Mushrooms, the blue ones, can sometimes help you unravel what's going on. And I mean, I like acid, but I'm not going to recommend anyone do acid. It's so strong. It's so intense. For me, I like LSD, but it doesn't always make people relax. It makes me relax, but that's a whole different thing. Herbs, ashwagandha, chamomile, and you could get Bach flower remedies and take a GABA, G-A-B-A supplement. All right, guys, that is all I have to say about anxiety tonight. That is all I had in my notes, and we're at the hour, so this is an extra long episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I love all of you. Write me at metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com if you have any questions or anything, ideas for upcoming shows. Even if you want to drop me a little donation, that would always help. It's always helping me. I mean, I'm working on the show 6 hours a day, so it's like I'm putting my all into this. So that's my PayPal as well, metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com. So I don't know. Send me a voicemail, anchor.fm/metaphysical. And we're almost at 60 minutes, so I don't want this to just cut off automatically without my saying, I'm signing off now. With peace and joy. And don't forget the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. They're always here for you. They're always here to take your anxiety away. So ask your spiritual team, your guidance, pray, meditate, ask God, ask your angels to be with you. Don't forget your spirituality in all this. If you are suffering from anxiety or you know someone who is, I just gave you all the ways I know how to help it. All right, so I love you again, signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. All right, until next time, peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.